Yeah, I was told by some soothsayer about 2 or 3 years ago that I was going to have a very busy time, and I said, "Really?" And, and I was just happening thinking about taking a bit of time off, after all these years. But
Hmm.
the book idea came along, and I thought about it quite a lot, because when you're doing something like this, you have to consider a lot of aspects of um, how you're going to deal with it, who you're going to mention, who you're going to leave out,
Hmm.
what's the emphasis, and gradually the thing sort of took shape. So, and then I got really excited about it, and actually loved doing it, for all the right reasons, I think.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So yeah, you mentioned
Yeah.
the book "My Life in Dire Straits." It came out last year, last November. It's a fantastic book. I mean, I've been flicking through some of the comments, not just by reviewers, but by people on social media and everything, and they're all fantastic. Some things like you put many things into new perspective, so enlightening. I loved all the details and the stories you're able to recall. It's vivid, well written, and absorbing. You're a wonderful writer with a gracious and easy style. I mean, that must be very nice to listen to.
Well, I have to come clean about that. I did have some help putting it down. Somebody who I've known for a long time, and we share a similar sense of humor. So um, I started writing it down longhand, and I thought this is going to be this is going to take quite a long time. And uh, we chatted for quite a while, and the reason why I asked him to help me put it down was because he knew nothing about music.
Okay.
And I thought that would be quite a good
Very interesting.
starting
Yeah.
point, which would mean he would have to engage with it like a punter in a way, like somebody coming at it fresh, rather than some hack that had written 20 music
Hmm.
biographies. So we actually had an awful lot of fun, and I discovered, rather remarkably, because I thought my memory was completely, well, my wife would say my memory is still pretty bad, but I was quite surprised how much I actually remembered. And there's obviously a few things I didn't remember, which I had to go and check. But um, I just thought it was a tale worth telling, and I've been really, really heartened by the fact that we've had a good response to it, and because you never know with these things, it's always a bit risky.
Yeah.
Um, I know as soon as you put the word Dire Straits on something, people will sort of look up and take notice. I do appreciate that, but it's still got to stand up to scrutiny, and that's the most important thing, really.
Absolutely. And you mentioned earlier about the fact that you had to think about who to include and all that sort of thing. Did you speak with the other members of the band and the other people that were behind the scenes for Dire Straits just to make sure that you had all the stories correct and dates and times and all that sort of thing?
Well, that would have been quite an exercise, because there was an awful lot of people involved. It's very much my interpretation, Paul, of events. But before I even started it, I sat down with Mark and I said, look, I've been offered this publishing deal to write, kind of write our story, if you like. And he went, "Oh, okay." The first thing he said was, "Why would you want to bother to do that?" But I said, "Well, somebody's got to do it, and you're not going to do it." And so when I'd written it, I gave it to him, and I said, "This is what I'm going to potentially put out, and can you just please read it?" So he did. He read the whole thing, and there was a couple of things that he said, which he thought were probably the wrong person's name, or the wrong place,
Mhm.
or maybe the wrong sort of thinking about something. So we went through a little bit together, and then he gave it his blessing, which is very, very important. Um, him being sort of in the major protagonist in the situation, and then he said, he'd write the forward. So that was, if you like, that gave it the for me, it gave it the um, uh, the necessary credentials, if you like, to then say, right, here it is, here it is for the public to take on. And I saw him the other night, actually. He said he's had quite a few of his mates who've read it and really loved it. So that helped. So anyway,
Did
yeah,
he wish
it
he'd
was
written
good
the
fun.
book
I
then?
mean, huh?
Did he wish he'd written the book instead of you now?
No, I don't. No, 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 no. Good Lord, no, no, not at all, not at all. He's busy doing what he does best, which is slowly working on new songs and tunes and stuff. No, he's in good shape actually. We've seen each other quite a bit over the holidays.
Oh, that's good to see. Good to see.
Yeah,
And speaking of that, when the book did launch, you had a special launch night, and you had some special guests, including Mark, along there with you, didn't you? And you put the pictures up on social media.
yeah. Well, there was it was probably people thought it was a bit bonkers, but in fact, actually, it was at one of those particular times when 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 people felt able to go out, and there were people there that I hadn't seen, friends of mine I hadn't seen for a couple of years. So I was pleasantly surprised. We got quite a few people there, who came to just pop in for a drink and just say hi and meet other people that they knew. So it was quite and amazingly, as a consequence of that, nobody reported getting COVID. So it was, I think we got away with it. But yeah, but Hal turned up. Hal Linders was just happened to be working in London. Guy was there, and a friend of mine, Roger Taylor from Queen, came by. It was nice. It was just a lovely sort of group of people who kind of all know each other, and it was a kind of a celebration, really, more than anything else. And then we actually did one at my pub down here in Hampshire, just a small one for the locals,
Oh, nice.
and then played a bit of music, which was good fun. So it's been an interest. I'm kind of I got a bit tired of it for a while because as you probably realize, I was doing some points doing 7 or 8 interviews a day, and not just here but in America as well. So that was quite.
Yeah.
I got a bit sick of the sound of my own voice after a while. I haven't done one for a while, so I'm feeling quite fresh today.
We timed it well. We timed it well. So the book itself, My Life in Dire Straits, it's out in different languages as well. I've seen different people posting that it's available in Italian and things like that. But it's also available in audiobook as well. And this intrigues me because this is my sphere of work. I work in audiobooks and audio and things like that. So to find out that
Ah,
you voiced it yourself and Mark voiced the foreword himself as well, it's fantastic.
yeah. Well, they said there's not much point in us getting anybody else to do it because it only makes sense if you're going to read it. And I have to say, Paul, it was really hard. I mean,
Yes.
do you do much of this? Do you do much of this? If you're used to it, you're probably okay with it. But they said it'll take 3 days. Well, I managed to get through it in nearly 5 days. It was quite difficult
It is. It's a lot harder than you
maintaining
think.
maintaining the flow. Yeah, I mean, I take it my hat off to people like Stephen Fry who did the Harry Potter books. I mean, which I listened to in the car the other day because my daughter's quite keen on it. And God, how he did all that, I've no idea. It's
Absolutely.
it's difficult, isn't it?
It very much is. And even though you may have written it yourself, there's always little mistakes that need pickups recording afterwards and little bits like that that you don't think of. It's just, yeah.
Yes. It's interesting because it was edited about 3 or 4 times before I sat down and read it out loud. And as I was reading out loud, I said to the producer, I said, "We're going to have to change this. Is it possible to change this before the book comes out?" And he said, "Just about," because there were things that were still wrong. And actually, somebody found a mistake the other day and wrote to me, which was quite funny. So it doesn't matter how many times you edit something, something slips through the net.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's your book. I mean, like we said before the interview started, you've been a busy boy, and the next
Yeah,
important bit of information is your eighth studio album titled Eight. It's out on the 11th of February. The first
yeah.
song available for us to listen to. It's out there to stream and things like that. It's called Which Way Is Up, and it's a very rootsy, very cool sounding song. So is that what we can expect from the album then, John?
Well, I'll leave that to the listeners to decide. I mean, there's quite a bit of variety on there. I always have a bit of reggae on there, and there's a little bit of country stuff on there. I mean, all those different influences that have seeped into my world over the years. So it's quite a personal album, and some might say it's quite political, but I'll leave other people to decide that. Yes, it was doing it was quite different because we did it during the pandemic business, and so we couldn't all sit in the same room, and which is what I like to do, and record it all together. So I had to do it in bits and pieces, but I think once we got used to that, it was fine. And actually, I've just done 4 videos, 4 songs of the album. So the first one, Which Way Is Up, is going to come out. I'm going to try and get it onto the on stream, whatever they call it, over the weekend and early next week for Which Way Is Up. So that's been fun doing videos again. Don't know. It's weird coming out of isolation, isn't it?
Yes.
Starting to sort of do semi-normal things again. And everybody must be feeling this. I mean, I think psychologically it's been quite a challenge, actually,
Yep.
for everybody. But I did enjoy making the record, and I've used some new people on it, some brass players and some pedal steel player, a friend of mine, and so it's been good. It's good. I enjoyed it, and I think it's come out pretty well, actually. There's actually a Lennon McCartney song on there as well, which people might be quite intrigued about. Anyway.
Interesting indeed. And I've looked on the shop as well that you can purchase. There's a special purple vinyl. There's signed various things. There's bundles as well. So plenty of different options for people.
Well, I'm using a different record company because I was with somebody for years, and they weren't very proactive. And these 2 young guys have got some great people. They've got Wolf Alice on their books and OMD and people like that, and they really actively work with you. So and they've got lots of energy. So I figured that might I needed a change. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, and then we're doing a little tour in April, at the end of April, I think it is, just after Easter, just a couple of weeks around the UK, just to have a chat with people and such like.
Indeed, that was the next point I was going to get onto, the Life and Times of Dire Straits tour that you've got lined up April, May. What can we expect from that? You said a nice little chat. Is that going to be a fairly intimate sort of thing then?
Well, it is. It's basically what I did a few years back, just before lockdown. We were stopped actually halfway through a tour, but I sort of discovered that it's quite interesting just chatting. One of my managers, good friend of mine still, is we chat for about 15, 20 minutes about the whole, how everything came together with the band. And then I get the band, we get 3, we just play acoustically actually, which is lovely. And breaking the songs down into this acoustic framework, really, for me, it made the songs come alive again. And I obviously play some of my stuff as well, some new things, just to keep the variety in. But essentially, it's just marking out the band's progress, because I think most people seem to be quite interested in the early years. Of course, I mean, everybody knows really about the Brothers in Arms stuff and On Every Street and the tours, but those early years were, like any band, are quite interesting. How things happen and how things change, and what's what comes out of all that, those early moments when you realize that perhaps you have something on your hands which might do something rather than all the other bands you've been in.
Absolutely, and Dire Straits certainly did something. One last thing from me is, it's a question from one of my listeners who asked me to ask you this next time I spoke to you, so I'll put it out there. Zach Elmquist, he said, "Are there any unreleased Dire Straits songs that you know about that could one day see the light of day?"
Well, funny you should say that. Actually, we are looking at pretty much all the material that is stored away in various places, which I think most people do when they get to this particular point. Because yes, it is interesting to see. I think that the record company's got some stashed away somewhere. So that is a possibility. But I think I'd like to think we used the best stuff that we had. I mean, there was always things that dropped off on the way. When we started making a record, there was always a few things that didn't come up to the mark, if you like, just either from some things work and some things don't. It's as
Yeah.
simple as that. So when you sit down and you strum away on things, and they either come alive or they don't come alive. And it's the same with my songs. I mean, I've got a few things stacked away that probably will never see the light of day. But so I try to use the best stuff I've got, really.
Fascinating stuff. Well, John, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you again. Best of luck for the tour that comes up and for the new album as well. And hopefully speak to you again in the future when you've got more new things on the go because you're a busy boy.
Well, I might calm down a bit this year. I fancy taking a bit of time off and getting back with my paintbrushes as well.
Indeed, indeed. Fantastic. Thank you very much for speaking to me.
Nice to talk to you, Paul. Okay, we'll speak again, no doubt.